It was a dark night when I received the news that would change everything. The headlines screamed of a murder that shook the nation. A prominent figure found dead under mysterious circumstances. I could hardly believe it as I read the details, my heart racing with a mix of fear and curiosity. As an investigative journalist, I felt compelled to dig deeper. I started my journey by talking to those close to the victim. Friends, family, and associates shared their shock and disbelief, painting a picture of someone who had dedicated their life to justice and equality. The victim had been an advocate for change, fighting against corruption and injustice. As I gathered stories and testimonies, I realized just how many people were affected by their work. The murder was not just a loss, but a strike against a movement. I ventured into the heart of the city where protests erupted following the news. People were angry, demanding justice, and I was there with my camera, capturing the raw emotions and unity among the crowd. Each chant echoed the sentiment that the world would not be silent. The investigation unfolded slowly, with leads that often turned cold. I found myself entangled in a web of politics and power, learning about the enemies my subject had made over the years. It was clear this was no ordinary crime. The climax hit when I received an anonymous tip. It led me to a clandestine meeting where the truth behind the murder was unveiled. Conspirators, desperate to maintain their grasp on power, had silenced the voice of change. I documented every detail, determined to expose the truth. As I pieced together the final parts of the story, I faced threats that shook me to my core, but I knew I had to persist. This story was bigger than me. The world needed to know what happened. I published my findings, and the impact was immediate. News outlets picked up the pieces, and soon the story went viral. People rallied together to demand accountability, igniting a fire of change that spread worldwide. The aftermath was powerful. As I spoke at rallies, I discovered that the murder had sparked a global movement. People were inspired to act, to fight against injustice, and honor the legacy of the one who was lost. In the end, justice was served, but it came at a cost. I realized that while some may have fallen, their voices carried on through the actions of many. The world was forever changed, and I was proud to be part of that pivotal moment. Reflecting on the journey, I understood that the fight for justice will never truly end. The story of that murder became a catalyst, awakening a collective consciousness. It taught us all the power of standing together. As I closed my notebook, I knew this was just the beginning. For every voice silenced, there would be many more rising up. The world may have been shaken, but from the ashes, we would build a future rooted in hope and justice.